Welcome back to NFTs Made Simple. Today, Dragon and I are joined by Carlos Diaz, the founder of Uncut.fm. Listen, baby, this is the creator economy, and we're going to give you the roadmap to creating NFTs to explode your creative economy. Don't turn that dial. Let's get after it. NFTs are changing the world, and change can feel complicated and scary. But listen, you don't need a computer science degree. You don't need to learn how to code. You just need practical skills to win.
If you are here, you are in the 1% of humans that are preparing for this major cultural shift. We're going to keep it fun. We're going to keep it light. We're going to make it practical. Welcome to NFTs Made Simple.
Just a reminder, we're not financial advisors. This is not financial advice, and you should do your own research.
Hey, let's get into it.
Yo, what's up, Carlos? Welcome to NFTs Made Simple.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Big fan of your show, by the way. I'm a recent listener, and I'm totally hooked.
Love it.
Welcome.
Well, we're glad to have you here. Like, what you're doing in making NFTs, I think, simple, more approachable, and more practical, super interesting. Let me just kind of start with the project that you've got going right now. Let's just get right into it here, Carlos. Mm-hmm. Uncut.fm. What is that? Why is it important?
Yeah, so that's my new startup. I'm not new in the space. I'm 49 years old. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I created several startups in the tech space since 1996. So basically, I've been here, at the beginning of the Web 1. And I created startup, in Web 1. I created startup in Web 2. And I was about to retire because I've been very lucky. I sold my startup. I don't need to work anymore. And then I saw this Web3 coming. And as a surfer, I was on the beach, with my old, board. And I said to my wife, I need to surf, this new wave. I cannot stay here. I cannot retire. I cannot just be an investor investing in these cool projects. I want to be part of it. And I'm also a podcaster. And when I saw, the Web3 coming with all these amazing projects, very interesting, we'll talk about what is this revolution, because I really believe that's a revolution. It's going to change everything. I saw a lot of projects for artists, musicians, photographers, and nothing for podcasters. And I was very, very frustrated as a podcaster to not have a platform that allows me to create my own NFTs directly from my RSS feed, for example, and mint my episode as NFTs without having to download or whatever, do a lot of stuff by myself. And that's why I started to think about, Uncut.fm. And Uncut.fm is basically, we try to help podcasters, but creators in general, because right now we have more than just podcasters. We have also people from Twitch, TikTokers, YouTube streamers, all kind of creators. We help them create their NFT membership community and reinvent their business model and create a new form of monetization that I'm sure we are going to talk about. That is a monetization that is not about trying to make money from your community, but start making money with your community, which is very different. And get your community part of your own economy. And you need Web3, you need crypto, you need the blockchain to do that, because traditional platform and centralized platform will never let you do that. Of course.
I just want to hit on one thing he just said, which is really interesting, is that, logic would say from the consumer and the person that's buying, all I really want is I want to do well, but there's always this, relationship of like, what's the big guy getting out of it? What's the entity getting out of it? And then this word community gets in. So there's always going to be an inflection point where, your members are going to want to know if they're, what the value is of being a member. So what I've seen is, any money that the entity is generating ends up becoming a membership perk. So it's interesting to see the evolution of it. And as you'll see when we get deeper into it, Carlos is like well thought out, this whole thing. But Mark, go ahead. I cut you off.
Well, I think you laid that out nicely here. And this is something I talk about with my community, is we need to speak to the selfishness of the humans on the other side. And so often I think influencers and creators, we're talking about subscribe to my podcast, join my community, pay me.
Yeah.
But this idea,
It's a one-way street. It's a one-way street.
Exactly.
The money
So
is flowing only in one direction.
Yeah. But if the community is like, okay, if I help build this, I get a direct return. Tell me how NFTs and Uncut.fm facilitate that.
Yeah. So you're very right, when you're saying that. It's about, changing the way we envision the relationship with your, I call the super fans. Because one thing that is very important also to understand, I'm repeating that, always to the creators on the platform. NFTs are not meant for your listeners. Okay. Your listeners want to listen to your podcast. Okay. The NFTs are meant for your super fans that they want something more than just listening to your podcast. They want to be part of your community. They want to participate and they want to be part of the show. They want to invest in you. So that's why NFTs are about. I'm not talking here about speculative assets. The people who are buying my NFTs, they don't want to resell them. They're not buying this NFT thinking that they are going to make millions, tomorrow by reselling, this NFT. It's an access card, to me, my community, and my business. So I'm going to give you just an example that I'm about to launch, with my own podcast. Next season, starting end of September, okay, I'm gonna change everything. I want my podcast to be the first podcast entirely produced by my community. So what I'm gonna do is before starting the season, I'm going to release 50 tokens, and I already know who is gonna buy them, by the way. And if you hold, one of these tokens, I'm going to share with you 25% of the revenue of the next season with you. So you become kind of a shareholder. So there will be 50 people inside my community that are going to become what I call consejeros. That's basically people who are interested in the business I'm building. Okay. And there will be only 2 weeks, to get these tokens. If I don't sell out, these 50 tokens, the remaining tokens will be burned. So, and too bad, and I'll keep, the money for me. But if the 50 tokens are claimed, okay, these 50 people will get 25% of my NFT revenue for next year. And I'm planning in doing something like $50,000 to $60,000 roughly next year with NFTs, because I did something like $20,000 in just 4 months. So I think I can easily do $50,000 to $60,000, with my NFTs, next year. After that,
can you, before we move forward,
yes.
I want to stick on that for just a moment, Carlos, because when you start talking income, you're speaking my language. How do you plan on hitting that 60, 70K revenue through NFTs? Is that solely the sales of the NFTs, or explain that to me?
Okay, so there will be, throughout the season, I'm going to release, I've got a roadmap for the entire season. I know exactly what NFTs I'm going to release throughout the season. So for example, before I start the season and after I sell out, these 50 consejeros tokens, for my shareholders, I'm going to release a socio token. There will be 1,000. The price will be $35. And it's a way for you to become a member of Silicon Carne. That's the name of my show. Okay. And there is 1,000 of them. And one of the benefits of this token is you get access to my NFT gated community, where basically you get to talk not only with me, but with the other listeners. If you don't have this token, you don't have access to this community. And there is other benefits. I'm organizing, for example, a Zoom call, with the socios 1 time a month where we talk all together. Maybe we will create some events in real life, during the year. If you don't have the token, you cannot join this event and stuff like that. So that's 1,000 tokens at $35. So only that is $35,000, And if you have the first token, if you're a consejero, you get 25% of these $35,000. And then after, throughout the year, oh, by the way, one thing I didn't mention is that with the socio token, I'm not going to start the season before I sell out 20% of these socio tokens. So I put pressure on my community. If you want the next season of Silicon Carne to start, you have to buy the socio token I'm recording, episodes, right now, but the season is not going to start before 20% of the socio tokens are sold out. So you decide when the season starts. By the way, it's not me who decide when the season starts. Then after, throughout the year, every episode is an NFT. Just 20 copies. You're gonna ask me why buying an NFT of an episode, because my episode, you can listen to this episode on any kind of platform without having the NFT. I created a new role inside my community that I call the Guardians. So if you buy the NFT of the episode, you become a guardian. Okay? What does that mean? That means that this episode is going to be stored on the blockchain on an IPFS, server, a decentralized server. So the episode is going to be stored thanks to you forever, eternally, and publicly. Even if I remove it from my RSS feed, because you bought the NFT of the episode and you're a guardian of this episode, this episode is going to be eternal and public thanks to you. And you're part of a small group, a subgroup inside my community that I call the Guardians. By the way, if you have 3 Guardians tokens, you get a fantastic hoodie from Silicon Carnet you receive, by mail. That's another. It's about gamification, guys. It's really about creating a game and a financial kind of game and a community game, with your fans. And they love that. So that's another thing. And I'm doing 30 to 40 episodes a year. And I've got other NFTs like that. So altogether, when I line up, all these tokens I'm going to do in 2022 and 2023 might be something like 100, different NFTs with maybe, 2,000 copies and stuff like that. It's going to generate a revenue about $50,000 to $60,000, which is great, by the way. And also one thing I didn't mention, I created a community wallet. So if you're a socio, 30% of the revenue of my NFTs are going into a community wallet, okay? And it's not going to individuals like the first token that this money is going directly to you. Here, it's a community wallet, and it's a community of the socios who decide what to do with this money. So they can propose projects, and they vote like in a DAO to decide what are we going to do with this money. It's not my money, it's their money. Maybe they want a t-shirt of Silicon Carnet. People are, I talk, with the community, they said that they want to create a food truck in Paris with Silicon Carnet and sell, tacos in Paris, with the name of my podcast on it. And they need $30,000, to do that. So it's a community project.
That this is, I just want to phase place what's going on right now. So, if you want to know how powerful podcasts are and how many people are sweeping to it, ask Mark. I mean, that's what he does, right? I mean, so becoming a podcaster is, we haven't even scratched the surface of it if you look at what happened to YouTube. So what you're hearing right now is, whether you are a podcaster or not, once again, here we are expanding our minds in this world, because you've got this guy here who is taking this concept of NFTs and Web3 and all that, and he's bringing it into for the first time. Other people have thought about it, but it's very few people that execute, right? So he's a pioneer. He's taking this to the next level. And what I want you to pay attention to is, once again, like there's no ceiling to what's possible here. But you get a guy like Carlos who is just methodically laying out the concepts of creating community and value behind it. And also the idea of being able to sell an episode. I'm a podcaster, being able to sell an episode and, build your community of super fans that would love to own their favorite episode, or 3 or something like that. So I just want to remind everybody that, here on NFTs Made Simple, what we're trying to do is bring people like this to the forefront so you can learn along the way, but also get an idea of where we're going. So, very, very exciting what you're doing. My entrepreneur, inside of me. And by the way, just as a side effect, of course, it's a French guy that's doing this.
Yeah, nobody's perfect.
Who else? Nobody's perfect. But as a side note, just think about this. But on the entrepreneur side, I'm thinking you better lock up this idea and become the guy that helps other podcasters do this. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And one thing you're saying that JC, that is very important is everything I'm mentioning here. You do that without signing any contract with anybody. I don't need any bank account. Okay. I don't manage, the money transaction because it's all on the smart contract. When I say 30% of the revenue of my NFTs is going into a community wallet, this money is not flowing into my account and then I put this 30% in another account. It's a blockchain doing that, for me. So I don't have to worry about that. And it's fully transparent. And also one thing very important, I'm doing all that with absolutely no intermediary in between me and my community. There is no platform allowing me to do it or not, or taking a cut on this, I'm doing that on uncut.fm because that's the platform I'm using. I'm eating my own dog food here, and it's a no-code platform, so I don't need to write any line of code. Everything I'm telling you here, I can do it, in just 5 minutes. I can set up, my uncut.fm page, start minting, for free. I can invite, my fans, into this NFT community, and they can start buying, this NFT. By the way, they don't need any crypto wallet. They don't need any crypto to buy these tokens. They can pay with credit card. If they don't have any crypto wallet, we're going to create a non-custodial crypto wallet for them in the background. They don't even know that we are doing that. And so it's when you look at it, my community are not Web3 experts. They don't know anything about that. And we made sure that to create a community that is Web 2.5. So basically it looks like Web 2, but all the infrastructure is Web 3 and decentralized. And it's your own smart contract. So even if uncut.fm disappear, tomorrow, you have your own smart contract, and you don't need uncut.fm.
I really love this idea. And I love that you just said you don't even need to set up a MetaMask wallet and buy your Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's like because to me, that's the biggest barrier of entry for people into this NFT world is it's quote unquote complicated. If I can just whip out my credit card and buy it and it's stored on, I guess it's stored on like an Uncut FM wallet of some sort. It's stored on the platform.
Yeah, we create a non-custodial wallet for you. Okay, and we don't have access to this wallet. It's non-custodial, so you have your secret phrase and so. But it's stored on uncut.fm. And when you become a little bit more savvy about Web3 and you want to transfer, this wallet into your MetaMask or whatever, you can do it, very easily in one click. But yeah, absolutely, it's and you can even pay with Apple Pay. I've got some of my listeners who said, I just bought your NFT. It's my first NFT. I bought that, with Apple Pay on my mobile, with facial recognition. I didn't have to put even, my credit card number. And now I got a wallet and now I got my first NFT. Oh, by the way, I got access to your community, which is great. And then I start communicating because we ask for the email every time you buy a token, on the platform. So now I've got the list of all the super fan of my show. And I've got a space on uncut.fm that is NFT gated where I can communicate, with them. And because I've got their email, every time I post something on uncut.fm, it goes directly inside their inbox. So it's like a private newsletter I have, with my community that I can send, and I can decide, to send this message only to the holders of this specific token, for example, and use my tokens also to segment, my audience. That's very interesting. Not only I have the context, but also the tokens I'm creating, for example, to Guardians, that's a subgroup. It's a very specific group inside my community. And I've got specific communication, with them. The tokens help me to segment, this subgroup inside my community too.
It's a really interesting way, I think, of activating your audience. Instead of just being a passive listener, they become a proactive member of promoting the show, of promoting the podcast audience, the podcast community, promoting the tokens. They have a vested interest. Hey, what's up? Mark here. Just want to take you on a quick break with a resource I think is really going to help you. Some of the concepts that we're covering in the show sound really complicated and really technical. But listen, you don't need to code. You don't need to get a master's degree in computer science. All you need to do is have the right resources. We're going to make it simple. We're going to make it easy. I've got a link below. Go to www.nftsmadesimple.com. That's nftsmadesimple.com. You're going to get a free cheat sheet there. It's 100% free. What are you waiting for? Go get the cheat sheet. We're going to break down some of the key definitions in ways that are really practical and really simple. Go to nftsmadesimple.com right now to get your free cheat sheet. That's nftsmadesimple.com. All right, let's get back into the show. And, when you start talking about the Guardians, AKA the people that purchase the rights to a specific episode, I'm thinking that you could give those rights to the podcast guest. And now that guest has a vested interest in making sure that his or her audience goes and checks out the show too.
Yeah, I'm doing that all the time. So every time I have a guest, I've got 2 guests usually in each of my episodes. I airdrop, this Guardian NFT to them for free, because I can do that also on uncut.fm. Airdrop, NFT I created for free to someone else. So I'm doing that all the time. Another example, what I'm doing memorabilia in my podcast. So there is crazy moments in my podcast. I extract, the best of moments of my podcast. I create a very nice, 3D representation of this moment. And I create just one copy of this. And I put that out there on uncut.fm. I say to my community, there is this crazy moment, this best of moment, and now you can own this moment. And because it's there is a 3D representation, I said to my community, maybe we're going to create a museum on the metaverse with all these best of moments. That would be the best of moments of Silicon Carne. But I want you to be the owner of the items, of my museum. I'm selling, this item $500. The last one sold out in 3 minutes and 17 seconds. If you're not part of the show, you're going to say, what the fuck? Okay, I don't get that. Why people are buying this money? But if you're one of my fans, you're part of a subculture. It's an artifact of this subculture, and you want to own it because you want to be... Listen, fans want something very specific. They want 3 things. They want access to you and to your community. They want recognition, and NFTs are amazing because they give you something that others don't have. And they want a status inside your community. That's the 3 things they are looking for. They're not looking for content. That's the listeners. The listeners are looking for content. Your fans want access, recognition, and status. Tokens are amazing tools, to provide these 3 things. You're a guardian. You're owner of a memorabilia. It means something. It says something about you. And it makes you different inside the community. It rewards you with something, and it gives you access, to something.
Yeah, it's a way of, it's interesting. I love the idea of not separating, but just delineating the difference between a listener and a super fan, first of all. Because you can, you know who your super fans are, and then asking yourself, what do the super fans want? They want recognition. They want to get closer. They want to be part of it. So the tokenization of that concept is great. There's nothing more than they would want than to have something solidify their position as, a different type of member, a different level of member. But then on top of that, what I love so much about NFTs and this whole idea is that now not only are they getting the recognition, but if this thing that they have, that they're a super fan of and they love, obviously they're confident that it's going to grow. They love it, so now there's this new thing where as it grows, they get to grow with it. So it's like, I can't believe that somebody has not done this already. I know that Mark and I, when we first got into NFTs, were like, podcasters should have their own, I'm the dragon. You should have your own NFT and you can sell it to your, almost like a Patreon type thing.
Yeah.
But, this is where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, because what I just described, you cannot do that with traditional membership platform. There is absolutely no difference in Patreon in between fan number 1, okay, member number 1 and member number 2,804. Okay, there is no difference, and they have access to practically the same benefits. And listen, what I think is, if we talk about podcast, advertising and sponsoring is about monetizing your audience, okay? And the bigger your audience is and the more money you're going to do. Subscription is about monetizing your content. And I think it's a very dangerous tool, because the moment you have subscribers paying for your content, it puts the creator into a very dangerous content creation treadmill, where you have to create more and more content. And you're supposed to create better content for your subscribers. Every time I'm doing an episode, I'm trying my best. I don't want to create shitty content for my free subscribers and great content for my paying subscribers. It separates, this separation in between free and paid is very dangerous. And also, we know that creators are very close to burnouts. They don't have time to create more content. Tokens is a different monetization tool that allows you to monetize your community, not your audience. You can have, I'm not Joe Rogan, I maybe have something like 3,000 regular listeners. I'm doing something like 15 to 20,000 downloads per month. Okay. So you can do that without having a large audience. And by the way, I don't want any sponsor, in my show, because I don't want to be here, selling, mattress, for Casper. I'm not this kind of guy. Sorry, Casper. But I don't want these kind of sponsors. I'm not this guy. I'm not an advertiser, and I don't have the time to create more content. So I said, okay, what is the most interesting to monetize? My community. And yes, I want to give access to people, to me, and to other stuff. I want to create a community with them. I want to have fun. I want to gamify the experience. And also I want them to be part of my business. I'm fine, because I think that's one thing that creators didn't get yet, is that instead of trying to get the maximum of money from your listeners, create a project, with them that is much bigger and just take a cut of this bigger pie. Instead of trying to get the maximum of money and milk, your listeners like a cow, okay? Create a project, with them. And I think that, Mark, you said something in one of the episodes that I really loved, when you said everybody's talking about community, but that's a bullshit term. My vision is we are moving from audience to community. Great. But that's Web 2. That's Web 2 allowed us, to create this community, this group of people that I can interact, with. The next step is about turning your community into a real organization, where the interest is aligned, where basically we have shared interest and where we share, with the community, the upside. And that's what really interests me, in doing. And that's why I'm building, Uncut.fm. That's really the platform to do that, to create a shared economy and create new economic opportunities with your community.
Well, I love the idea is we move farther and farther into this influencer economy, which is basically where we're at now. It's only going to get bigger. As an entrepreneur, Carlos, I'm always conflicted between doubling down on what's working and innovating and trying new things. Okay. So here's the question that I have for you. Super interesting. Really cool. My mind is actually like in a million places right now. If I, as an entrepreneur, as an influencer, wanted to start a project with the Uncut.fm platform, what is the time commitment and what is the monetary commitment to make it happen?
Oh, monetary, the platform is entirely free. So set up, your platform Uncut.fm. It's free. You're gonna have the capacity to. You're gonna have this NFT membership platform for free. You're gonna be able to mint for free. By the way, we absorb all the gas fees, for you, so you're not paying for minting or whatever. And you can have an unlimited number of members on your platform We're still in private beta, so you need to apply on our website, but it's entirely free. And set up, this platform is going to take you 10 minutes, roughly, with no expertise. You don't need to develop any kind of line of code. We're going to create your smart contract for you, et cetera, et cetera. Now, thinking about your strategy, the NFT roadmap I told you before, yes, that's going to take you a little bit of time. That's why we created also on Discord a creator in residence program, where basically we decided to put all the creators using Uncut.fm together so we can help each other. So that's basically what I'm always saying to my users. I'm not building a product for you. I want to build a product with you. So yes, you're right. We are innovators. We are very early adopters. We are designing, this new concept, and we need to help each other. So yes, it's going to take a little bit of time to understand first, and you know that, and thank you for your podcast. It's a rabbit hole. So you need to get into and change your paradigm, because it's a paradigm shift, what we're talking about here. So that's going to take you a little bit of education, but that's your job, and you're doing that amazingly. Thank you for doing it. But then after, you're going to have to line up and your strategy. What are you going to do? What do you want to do? What kind of what are your goals, and what tokens are you going to release? How they are going to look like? When are you going to release them? What is going to be the pricing of them, et cetera, et cetera. So we are helping. That's why we are in private beta. Each single one a creator to figure out, their NFT strategy with their community. And I hope, that in the next year, we'll see more and more examples. I'm going to give you one more example that you're going to love from one of our podcasters. And we're going to see more and more podcasters doing that are going to show the way. And then people are going to jump into that and do their own stuff and invent and be very creative. Because that's also one thing I love, with tokens, that is very different than with subscription. With tokens, you can be creative. With a subscription, there is absolutely no creativity involved. When with a token, you can be creative, both, in terms of representation, benefits, utility you're going to put, into each one of these tokens. So it gives room, to creativity. So I want to give you one more example of one podcaster in France that is doing something that I that I find, very interesting. Every episode he's doing is releasing one token, okay, that give you the benefit, the utility of this token is that you have 1 minute of airtime in the following show. Not the next one, the one you want, okay? If you buy this token, you can record 1 minute, send that to him. It's a man. And if he likes it, because he can say no, because imagine if it's terrible content, he's going to airtime, this 1 minute inside his show. What he's saying is, listen, I want you, my community, to be the sponsors, in my show. At the beginning, when he released this token, nobody gave a shit to it. Then one day, a guy bought this token and got into the show. The rest of the community thought that was pretty cool and started to buy these tokens and get into the show. But after a few weeks, he was saying, this token every week, but nobody was getting into the show. Nobody was asking to have his 1 minute, in the show. Then he asked the community, you're buying the token, but you're not using it. Why? And then the community answered, because we believe that your show is going to grow. And what I bought today, $200, is going to be much more worth, in terms of value in 1 year, because I see your show growing. So basically, I'm going to use this token in 1 year when you have more audience. Or maybe I will resell, this token to someone else. Very interesting. So because now it's the community who decide when to use, this token. And then a few days ago, I had a conversation with him, and he told me, I think I have a problem, or I don't know if it's a problem, but there is a subgroup inside my community that every time I'm releasing this token, they buy it. They're only 10 people. They organize on Twitter to buy this token right away for, you know why? To burn it, because they don't want anybody in the show. So basically, the community, there is a very small group inside his community that is buying all these tokens all the time, and they burn it because they don't want anybody in the show.
They're trying to keep people away from the show.
Yeah, that's a win-win. So that's a way, that's a very interesting also way of using tokens. And I think that the Web3, what is fascinating is you are centralizing your community in one place, okay? But you are decentralizing the power. That's the new paradigm, where basically before, if you were a podcaster, your community was totally decentralized. You didn't have any access to them. You didn't know who they were and where they were listening to you from, okay? But the power was very concentrated because you, as a podcaster, you could decide anything you want inside your podcast. Now, with this Web3, it's the reverse. The community gets centralized in one place thanks to you because they buy this token and they join together and they create a community or even an organization. And then the power gets decentralized because you're not alone. Now you have to deal with your community, and your community is deciding what to do. Maybe for you, but you're the one who fixes the rules, but they're going to have maybe they're going to use your token in a way that you were not expecting. What I found, very interesting.
How do you know that your podcast is successful? That's what I know. I saw Mark's face. It's like when you have a group of 10 people buying all your tokens and burning them because they believe in your success so much that they're hoarding the space and keeping people out from it. That's how you know. I don't know how many listeners you got or how many sponsors and all that bullshit.
It's not a big podcast, by the way.
When people are burning tokens to keep people away from you, I mean, like, you know what I'm doing at that point, just to be an asshole, is I'm making those tokens like 10 grand.
Yeah. Yeah, that was basically his question, when we talked together.
So
he said, do you think I should increase the price? I said, damn, yes. Of course, you should. You should increase the price because there is no reason, and see where is the threshold, but maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's $10,000. You don't know.
Well, here's the thought. If you see that culture growing and people are spending $200 or whatever to burn tokens, what I'm thinking is why don't I create 10 tokens for those 10 people that are at a high premium that give them the ability to not have anybody else come into their private area or something. So once again, where the hell is this all going? You meet a guy like Carlos Diaz and you just like, when Carlos is crushing it in the future, just like Gary V, I remember when Mark and I heard Gary V was doing V Friends, we're like, I don't know about that. But here we go again, right? Here's another one. And by the way, what's interesting about this? This is not in any way affected by this winter that we're in.
No.
Because it's associated with things that people are still doing, is building community. I mean, Mark owns a production company and people are signing up in droves to start podcasts and stuff. And what do they need to do, Mark, to start their podcast? They got to grow their following and their community and all that stuff. So they're doing that anyway. This is just using the technology, right, to do that. And it's genius because now all of a sudden NFTs creates a new birth where it's not affected by the downturn of the market and stuff. It's pretty cool.
I love the idea of activating your audience and turning them into your community. Carlos, where's the best place for us to go so we can get started today? This is something you said takes 10 minutes. It's free. I don't know what's holding us back. Where can we go to get started?
Okay. So, okay, let's do that. I was not expecting, to do that, but let's do that just for your podcast NFT Made Simple. So to get access to the product, Uncut.fm, you need a token. Of course, you need a token to get access to the product. So you can go to studio.uncut.fm. That is our own Uncut, at Uncut. Okay. And there is a token named Inception. Okay, that will give you access to the product. And so you can mint 10 NFTs with 1,000 copies for entirely free. Okay. You need a password, to claim this token. That's one thing that Uncut.fm allows you to do, is to restrict the access to your NFT with a password So podcasters are using that. For example, they tell the password inside the episode. So if you haven't listened to the episode, you don't have the password, so you cannot claim, the NFT. So the password, again, the address is studio.uncut.fm. You go and look for the Inception token, and the password is outrun, 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 because I'm a big fan of the outrun music, by the way. So 80s and 90s. And I think that Web3 is about cleaning the mess we did, with Web2 and go back to the roots of Web1. That's why, we are very into 80s, 90s and stuff of culture.
You'll see his website has an 80s and 90s vibe.
Yeah,
to it.
kind of. Yes, that's the promise, to clean up the mess and go back to the original, web. So go there, claim this token. You're gonna join our community on Discord, where you will find other people like you interested in Web3, and you're gonna learn so much. And we're gonna help you to create your own token strategy with your community, and you get access to the product for free. So listen, I was not expecting, to do that. I think there is only 30 NFTs remaining, the Inception tokens. So go for it and claim it. It's free. If it's sold out, we'll create more. But yeah, go for it. And join us on our Discord, and we can continue the conversation with you. And by the way, I would love, to have an NFT made simple on uncut.fm and create, and help you to build, the same thing with your own community that I really love. And I will be the first one to buy your tokens for sure.
Love it. Carlos, thanks for the exclusive gift to our listeners. Y'all, what are you waiting for? He just laid it down. Go to links below, go check it out, and be part of this, world-changing, life-changing technology. Carlos, thanks for making it easy. And everything's purchasable with a credit card too.
Yeah, absolutely. But the one I talk about is entirely free, so you're not going to even need any credit card or whatever.
I love that twist about credit cards too, by the way, because
it's
reducing the clicks, reducing the barrier to entry is really, really smart. That's addressing the challenges before they've even come up. You already know the objection to your audience, so you resolve it before it even comes up. Love it, Carlos. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.